It was one of those lazy Sunday mornings when the apartment felt quieter than usual. The kind of morning that makes you think life is simple, predictable, safe. I had poured myself a cup of coffee and was scrolling through my notifications when a ping from my phone made me sit up straight. At first, I ignored it. My own phone? Nothing unusual. But then I saw it, the ping from Joon-Gi's smartwatch. I froze. The device was synced with my phone for our fitness challenge. I smiled to myself at the thought of tracking our steps together. Until I read the message. Are you coming over? I'm wearing that lingerie you bought with your wife's credit card. I blinked.
Once. Twice.
My coffee trembled in my hand. My stomach felt like it had dropped into a pit I didn't know existed. I read the message again, slower this time, like maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me. But no, the words were right there, cruel and sharp. Lingerie. Credit card. My husband. I rushed into the bathroom. The shower was running. Joon-Gi was in there. I could hear the water, the rhythm of his routine. The absurdity of it hit me first. I had been living in a bubble, oblivious, while the man I trusted was this. My hands shook as I gripped the edge of the counter. I whispered to the empty room, unable to stop myself. How could you? And then, almost instinctively, I grabbed my bag and left. I didn't need to confront him yet. I needed clarity, perspective, someone who wouldn't gaslight me or try to downplay it. That someone was Hae-In. He had always been kind, always treated me with respect, a careful gentleness Joon-Gi had never offered. I had dismissed the small moments, thinking they were nothing. But now, urgency pushed me to his office. Hae-In, I said the moment he opened the door. My voice was raw, trembling but firm. I need your help. Something's happened. He stepped aside immediately, concern etched in his features. Jisoo, what is it? Are you okay? I handed him my phone, trembling, and opened the fitness app, showing him the message. I don't know what to do. I saw this from Joon-Gi while he's showering. I can't believe it. Hae-In read the message carefully, his expression darkening. He what? His voice was low, almost growling, a side of him I hadn't seen before. He doesn't deserve the company. He certainly doesn't deserve you. I blinked, startled. I don't even know if I should be angry or devastated. I trusted him, Hae-In. I loved him. Hae-In stepped closer, his hand brushing lightly against mine. You should be angry, and you should protect yourself. And I'll help you. But Jisoo, you're stronger than this. You always have been. Let's make sure he pays for every bit of deceit. For a moment, I just stared at him, his calm, commanding presence grounding me. I realized then that this was the first time in weeks, no, months, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I wasn't alone. Maybe I had someone on my side who truly cared for me. Not for my social status, not for my wealth, but for me. I don't know how to start, I whispered. You start by trusting yourself. And by trusting me, Hae-In said softly, but with a firmness that left no room for doubt. We take this step by step. First, we remove him from everything he shouldn't have, then we rebuild what's yours. I nodded, swallowing hard, letting the anger and hurt transform into determination. The betrayal had hit me like a freight train, but I could already feel the edge of revenge sharpening. And by the time I left Hae-In's office, I knew one thing. Joon-Gi had underestimated me. And he was about to learn exactly what that meant. The next morning, I woke up with a strange mixture of adrenaline and anxiety. The betrayal still stung like an open wound, but now, beneath it, I felt a spark, a determination I hadn't realized I possessed. I wasn't going to crumble. Not now. Not ever. Hae-In was waiting for me at a quiet cafe downtown, papers and his laptop already spread across the table. His presence was calming, yet commanding, a subtle reminder that I wasn't alone in this, that someone finally had my back. Good morning, he said softly, offering a small, reassuring smile. Sleep well? I shook my head. Not really, but I haven't been sleeping well for months. Let's focus on everything. I want to make sure, he doesn't get away with this. Hae-In nodded. Exactly. Step 1. We gather every piece of evidence we can find. Emails, transactions, messages, anything that proves his betrayal and misuse of resources. I felt a twinge of excitement at the thought of taking control. All this time, I had felt powerless, blindsided by Joon-Gi's charm and deception. Now, with Hae-In by my side, I realized that power wasn't about status, it was about information, strategy, and timing. He leaned in, tapping on his laptop. I've already compiled a list of all company accounts he has access to, the transactions that don't add up, and the connections with people like Pizza Palace. I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting at the mention of that name, but I nodded. Good. Let's make this precise. No loose ends. Every move must be deliberate. Hae-In's gaze softened for a moment, and I caught the faintest flicker of emotion, something more than strategy. You've been so patient all these years, Jisoo. Watching him take advantage of you, I've hated every moment you didn't see through him. I bit my lip, suddenly aware of how much his words warmed me. Hae-In, you always respected me, even when I didn't notice. He looked away for a moment, then back at me, his eyes steady. I always will. That's why we do this carefully. Because he doesn't deserve you, and neither does anyone else who tries to cross you. We spent the morning digging through records, screenshots, and correspondence. Each piece of evidence we uncovered fueled my sense of control and clarity. I realized that the betrayal had awakened something in me, not just anger, but intelligence, focus, and the ability to act decisively. At one point, Hae-In paused, looking up at me. You're handling this incredibly well. Calm, collected, strategic. Most people would crumble, but you're stronger than you think. I felt a blush rise to my cheeks. I couldn't do it without you. You make it feel like I'm not alone in this fight. He smiled faintly, his hand brushing mine accidentally, or maybe intentionally, across the table. You're never alone, Jisoo. Not in this, not in anything. By late afternoon, we had mapped out our strategy. Joon-Gi's ousting from the business partnership, public exposure of his deceit, and careful control to ensure that every move we made was calculated, precise, and undeniable. As I left the cafe, the city sun warming my face, I realized something profound. The betrayal had not broken me. Instead, it had sharpened me. And with Hae-In's quiet guidance and unwavering support, I felt ready to reclaim my life, my dignity, and perhaps, if I allowed it, my heart. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of hope. And that hope was tinged with the thrilling knowledge that Joon-Gi had no idea what was coming. The day started gray and heavy, the kind of morning that perfectly matched the storm brewing inside me. I woke with a single thought. Today, I take the first step. Today, Joon-Gi sees the consequences of underestimating me. Hae-In was already waiting at the office, a quiet presence that somehow made me feel grounded despite the chaos I was about to unleash. Are you ready? He asked softly, though his eyes held the spark of determination I had come to rely on. I nodded, feeling my hands clench slightly. I've been ready since the moment I read that message. Let's make him accountable. We began with the board meeting. Hae-In had discreetly gathered key documents proving Joon-Gi's misuse of company funds, his secret dealings, and the text messages that confirmed his betrayal outside of our marriage. The plan was simple but powerful, present irrefutable evidence in a manner that made denial impossible. As we entered the room, I felt the familiar surge of nerves, but it wasn't fear. It was resolve. Joon-Gi looked up, startled by our early arrival. His smug, confident expression faltered when he noticed the files in my hands. Jisoo, what is all this? He asked, voice sharp but slightly uncertain. I didn't answer. I handed the folder to the board chairman and let Hae-In speak. This is the evidence of actions taken by Mr. Kim that are not only unethical, but directly harmful to the company. We recommend immediate review and suspension pending further investigation. The room went silent. Joon-Gi's face paled as whispers spread among the board members. His usual arrogance, the charm that had lulled me into trust, evaporated under the weight of undeniable facts. I met his gaze for a moment, my voice steady. I trusted you, Joon-Gi, and you abused that trust. This isn't personal, it's accountability. Something you clearly can't handle. Hae-In's presence beside me was solid, reassuring. He didn't need to say anything. The strength of his support was enough to anchor me. And yet, in the quiet moments when our eyes met, I felt something more, a flicker of warmth, of understanding, and maybe even something like hope. By the afternoon, the first results were clear. The board had voted unanimously to suspend Joon-Gi from the partnership until further investigation. His phone calls went unanswered, meetings were postponed, and his carefully constructed image began to crumble in real time. Look at him, Hae-In murmured, a rare hint of satisfaction in his voice. He has no idea what hit him. Not just professionally, personally. He's unraveling too. I felt a shiver of vindication, but also something softer, a deep relief. For weeks, I had felt powerless, betrayed, and alone. Now, I was reclaiming control, not just for myself, but for every moment of dignity he had tried to steal from me. Later, as we left the office, I glanced at Hae-In. Thank you for standing by me, for believing in me, even when I didn't fully believe in myself. He smiled, the corner of his lips curling gently. You never needed to. You were always strong, Jisoo. I just helped you see it. My chest tightened as I realized the truth. The betrayal that had shattered my world had also revealed who truly cared for me. And as the city lights reflected on the wet pavement, I felt a flicker of something I hadn't dared feel in months. Hope, and perhaps the beginning of something more. The first strike was over. But the war, the reclamation of my life, my dignity, and perhaps my heart, was just beginning. And this time I was ready. The morning air was crisp, but it did little to calm the storm inside me. Joon-Gi had discovered our first move. I could feel it in the tension of his calls to board members, in the whispered messages that circulated like shadows through the office. He was desperate, scrambling, trying to regain the control he had always taken for granted. Hae-In met me at our usual spot, his calm presence a steady counterpoint to the chaos. He's fighting back, he said quietly, eyes scanning his laptop. The more he resists, the more obvious his guilt becomes. I exhaled slowly, steadying my hands. I expected this. He always thought he was untouchable. But he underestimated me. He underestimated us. Hae-In's gaze softened as he looked at me. You've grown stronger than you realize, Jisoo. Even in the midst of all this chaos, you're composed, strategic, unshakable. I couldn't help but feel a small flush at his words. It was different from anyone else's praise. It felt sincere, personal, almost intimate. I swallowed and looked away, focusing instead on the files spread before us. Our next steps were precise. We had to anticipate Joon-Gi's moves, counter them quietly, and ensure that every action he took only accelerated his downfall. Hae-In had already reached out to several key stakeholders, subtly reinforcing the evidence, while I compiled additional proof of his personal indiscretions that directly affected the company. Hours passed, punctuated only by the occasional ping of emails or whispered updates. Joon-Gi's desperation became almost palpable. Each attempt to defend himself, each frantic call or feeble excuse, only reinforced the board's suspicions. You see, Hae-In said, leaning over the screen, he thinks he can manipulate people with charm and authority. But the truth has a gravity all its own. Once it's revealed, nothing can stop it. I nodded, a grim smile tugging at my lips. It feels almost like justice. Not revenge, exactly, but accountability. He looked at me then, and there was something in his gaze that made my chest flutter, a flicker of warmth, of understanding, and something deeper that I couldn't yet name. And through it all, Jisoo, you're handling this with dignity. Most people would crumble. But you shine. I felt my heart skip, the words touching a place I had long kept guarded. I never realized how much strength I had until now, I admitted softly. And maybe I never realized there was someone who believed in me as much as you do. Hae-In's hand brushed mine lightly across the table, deliberate and comforting. I've always believed in you, Jisoo. And I always will. But right now, let's focus. We're close to finishing this chapter, and I want it done correctly. By evening, the first major blow landed. Joon-Gi's secret dealings and misuse of funds were officially under review, and he was barred from attending high-level meetings. The whispers of scandal reached the press, and though we controlled the narrative carefully, the world started to see cracks in his carefully constructed persona. Walking home later, I felt a strange combination of exhaustion and exhilaration. The betrayal that had once left me feeling powerless now fueled my sense of agency and control. Hae-In's unwavering support was a balm, a quiet force that allowed me to process my emotions while acting decisively. As we stopped by the library on our way out, he looked at me, softening his expression. Tomorrow we finish what we started. And then we can start thinking about your life, free from him. I smiled, a mixture of relief and something else I couldn't quite define. Anticipation, hope, maybe even the first stirrings of something more with Hae-In. I think I'm ready, I said quietly, letting the night settle around us. Ready for everything that comes next. And for the first time since that devastating text, I allowed myself to believe in more than revenge. I allowed myself to believe in strength, in empowerment, and perhaps in love. The office buzzed with quiet tension as I arrived that morning. I could feel it in the air, the subtle glances, the hushed whispers. Word had spread. Joon-Gi's carefully curated image was cracking, and everyone in the company could sense it. But I wasn't here to bask in his humiliation. I was here to reclaim what had always been mine: dignity, control, and the power to decide my own story. Hae-In met me at the entrance, his usual calm presence anchoring me. The board meeting starts in 10 minutes, he said softly. Are you ready? I took a deep breath, nodding. I've never been more ready. Let's finish this. Inside the conference room, the atmosphere was electric. Joon-Gi sat at the far end, his usual arrogance replaced with visible tension. He caught my eye briefly, but I met his gaze steadily, showing him that I was no longer the naive, trusting woman he had taken for granted. Hae-In began the proceedings, presenting the compiled evidence with precision. Emails, transaction records, and even screenshots of incriminating messages. The weight of truth hung in the air like a storm. Each piece of evidence was irrefutable. Mr. Kim, Hae-In said, his voice steady, almost cold, you have been found misusing company funds and engaging in personal indiscretions that directly violate your partnership agreements. Your actions have compromised the integrity of this company. Joon-Gi opened his mouth, but no words came out. His usual charm and confident deflections failed him. Every attempt to justify or manipulate the narrative fell flat in the face of documented truth. I felt a surge of quiet satisfaction. Not revenge for revenge's sake, but justice. He had underestimated me, underestimated the power of truth, and now he would pay the price. After what felt like hours compressed into minutes, the board voted unanimously. Joon-Gi was suspended from all decision-making roles immediately. His influence over the company was stripped, and an internal investigation would follow. The room emptied gradually, leaving Hae-In and me alone. I let out a long breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. It's done, I whispered. Hae-In smiled, the faintest flicker of relief in his eyes.
For now.
But the most important part isn't just making him accountable, it's reclaiming your life, Jisoo. And I'm here for every step of that. I felt a warmth spread through me, a mix of gratitude and something deeper. You've always had my back, haven't you? Always, he said quietly, leaning slightly closer. His hand brushed against mine, deliberate and gentle, sending a thrill through me I hadn't expected, even when you didn't realize it. I met his gaze, my heart skipping a beat. There was honesty in his eyes, patience, and a tenderness that contrasted sharply with Joon-Gi's betrayal. I think I'm ready to trust again, I admitted softly. He smiled, a slow, steady warmth in that smile that made my chest flutter. Then trust me, he whispered, his hand now covering mine fully. I'm not going anywhere. And when you're ready, I hope you'll let me be more than just someone standing beside you. I swallowed hard, the emotions swirling inside me. Relief, empowerment, and a deep, budding attraction I could no longer deny. I think I'd like that, I admitted quietly. The tension between us lingered, a quiet promise of something more. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't forced. It was patient, deliberate, and real. As we left the office together, the city sun casting golden light across the streets, I felt a profound shift inside me. Betrayal had tried to break me, but it had instead forged me into someone stronger, more decisive, and capable of reclaiming not just my life, but my heart. And walking beside Hae-In, hand brushing against mine, I realized that the next chapter wasn't just about revenge or justice. It was about love, slowly unfolding in the quietest, most profound ways. The first week after Joon-Gi's suspension felt surreal. The office was quieter, more focused, and the whispers that once followed him were now about him, about what he had lost. I moved through it all with a sense of calm that surprised me. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was reclaiming my life piece by piece. Hae-In had been by my side every step of the way, not to control or protect me, but to support, guide, and reinforce my decisions. It was a presence so steady that I realized I had begun relying on it more than I'd expected, not just professionally, but personally. "Do you want to grab coffee?" he asked one morning, his voice casual, yet warm. I smiled faintly. "I thought you'd never ask." We found a quiet cafe downtown, sunlight spilling across the tables and the hum of conversation making the world feel ordinary and safe, an odd contrast to the chaos we had dismantled together. "You've changed," Hae-In said, watching me as I stirred my drink. "Not just professionally, but personally. You're freer, more confident." I looked down at my hands, swirling the coffee absently. "It feels like I can breathe again. For the first time in months, I'm not afraid of him, or of trusting myself." He reached across the table, fingers brushing mine lightly, and I felt a jolt, a mix of warmth, anticipation, and something tender that I hadn't allowed myself to acknowledge before. "I've watched you handle everything with strength and grace," he said softly. "I've admired you, Jisoo, more than you know." My heart skipped. I swallowed hard. I've always felt safe with you, even when I didn't understand why. I think I'm starting to see things clearly now." He smiled, that quiet, steady smile that seemed to carry years of unspoken emotion. "Take all the time you need. There's no rush. But when you're ready, I hope you'll let me be more than just a friend." I felt the heat rise in my cheeks, a mixture of shyness and desire. "I think I'm ready," I whispered, my voice barely audible, but certain. We walked through the city streets afterward, the late afternoon sun reflecting off the buildings. Hae-In's presence beside me was reassuring, grounding. I realized that independence didn't mean being alone. It meant choosing who to let into my life, and on my terms. The days that followed were a delicate balance. I focused on rebuilding my own schedule, my routines, and my confidence, both in the workplace and personally. I learned to relish the small victories, finishing a project without his interference, making a decision without hesitation, laughing freely without fear of betrayal lurking around the corner. And yet, amidst this independence, Hae-In's quiet care remained a constant. He checked in, supported decisions, and offered comfort without expectation. Slowly, the walls around my heart began to crumble, not because I was weak, but because I had found someone I could trust fully. One evening, as we walked along a quiet park path, he stopped and turned to me, his gaze steady and unwavering. "You've earned every bit of freedom and happiness, Jisoo. And I'd like to be part of it if you'll let me." I smiled, the tension and fear of betrayal fading completely. I want that too," I admitted, letting my hand find his. The touch was warm, tentative at first, then firmer, as if anchoring us both in this shared, quiet promise. For the first time, I realized that life after betrayal wasn't just about revenge or reclaiming control. It was about rediscovering trust, building strength, and allowing myself to feel something I hadn't dared feel in months. Love, patient and real, unfolding slowly and deliberately with someone who had always respected me. And as we walked side by side, the city lights flickering around us, I felt a sense of peace I hadn't known was possible. I was free, I was empowered, and perhaps, just perhaps, I was ready to let my heart heal fully. The tension in the office that morning was electric. Every glance, every whisper, carried the weight of anticipation. Joon-Gi knew the walls were closing in, and I could almost feel the panic radiating from him even before the board convened. Hae-In met me at the entrance, a quiet calmness in his gaze that steadied my own nerves. "Today it ends," he said softly. "One final presentation. Everything he's done, exposed, documented, undeniable." I nodded, determination coiling in my chest. No more hesitation. No more second-guessing. This was the moment where betrayal met accountability. Inside the boardroom, Joon-Gi looked more fragile than I had ever seen him. His usual charm had vanished, replaced by the tension of a man realizing that his empire of lies was about to crumble. Hae-In opened the meeting, presenting the final evidence: financial mismanagement, inappropriate personal conduct, and indisputable proof of his affairs. Screenshots, transaction records, and witness statements left no room for doubt. Every piece of deception was meticulously documented, every lie exposed. Joon-Gi tried to interrupt, stammering, "It's impossible." "You can't." I finally spoke, my voice steady and sharp. "You underestimated me, Joon-Gi. You thought I would remain blind, forgiving, and naive. But the truth has weight, and it always comes out. Today, you face the consequences of every betrayal, every manipulation, every lie." The board's decision was unanimous. Joon-Gi was immediately removed from the partnership, barred from the company entirely, and an investigation into his misconduct was made public. The whispers that followed painted him as the architect of his own downfall. As the room cleared, leaving Hae-In and me alone, I exhaled, a mixture of relief and lingering tension coursing through me. "It's finally over," I said quietly, the weight of months of betrayal lifting slightly from my shoulders. Hae-In looked at me, admiration and something more shining in his eyes. "It is. And you've handled this with strength I've rarely seen. You didn't just survive, you thrived." I felt my chest tighten at his words, a warmth spreading through me. "I couldn't have done it without you," I admitted softly. You always believed in me." He stepped closer, his presence magnetic. "Always," he said, voice low. "And now, maybe you can see me differently. Not just as a friend or ally, but as someone who's always cared for you. Someone who loves you." My heart fluttered uncontrollably. I had spent months processing betrayal, anger, and heartbreak, and now, standing here with him, I realized that love could be gentle, patient, and unwavering. I think I've been ready for this for a while," I whispered. He smiled, that quiet, steady smile that had always anchored me, and leaned in slowly. I felt the warmth of his hands as they brushed my arms, steady and reassuring. "Then let me," he murmured, his lips meeting mine in a kiss that was both tender and charged with the intensity of all the emotions we had shared. I melted into it, allowing the years of fear and hesitation to wash away. This kiss wasn't just passion, it was a promise, a beginning, a declaration of trust and connection. My hand found his, fingers intertwining naturally, solidifying the intimacy between us. When we finally pulled back, our foreheads rested together, and I whispered, "I never thought I could feel this again, safe, loved, empowered." "You deserve all of it," he replied softly. "And more." Walking out of the office later, hand in hand, I realized the truth. Betrayal had shattered me, but it had also shown me who truly stood by my side. Hae-In wasn't just my ally. He was my partner in every sense, ready to build a future where trust, love, and strength coexisted. And for the first time in months, I believed it wholeheartedly. The morning light streamed through the windows, warm and golden, as I sat at my desk, reviewing the final reports. The office felt different now, lighter, freer, infused with a sense of peace I hadn't known in months. Joon-Gi was gone, removed from my life and the company entirely. His betrayal, though painful, had become the catalyst for everything I had regained: strength, independence, and clarity. Hae-In entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might like this," he said, setting one beside me. I smiled, the simple gesture filling me with unexpected warmth. "You didn't have to," I said softly. He shrugged, leaning against the doorway, his gaze lingering on me with that steady, unwavering intensity one had come to rely on. "I wanted to. You've been through a lot, Jisoo. You deserve every moment of peace, every bit of happiness." I felt my chest tighten. It was more than words. It was the patience, the respect, the quiet devotion that had carried me through the worst weeks of my life. I never realized how much someone could care without expecting anything in return, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. Hae-In smiled, his hand brushing mine gently. "Some people are worth waiting for," he said, voice low and warm. "And I've been waiting for you." My heart skipped, a flutter I hadn't felt since before the betrayal, before the heartbreak. "I think I'm ready," I whispered, feeling the weight of the past lift. Ready to trust, to love, to move forward. He stepped closer, closing the small gap between us. His hands cupped my face softly, and I felt a shiver of anticipation. "Then let me show you," he murmured, leaning in for a kiss that was tender, lingering, and full of promise. This kiss was different from anything I had known with Joon-Gi. There was no deceit, no manipulation, only honesty, warmth, and the patient care of someone who had waited for me to heal. I melted into it, feeling the layers of hurt and betrayal fall away with each heartbeat, replaced by trust and connection. When we finally pulled back, our foreheads rested together, and I whispered, "I never thought I could feel this safe again, this loved." "You deserve it," he replied softly, eyes shining with sincerity. "And I'll spend every day proving it to you." The weeks that followed were filled with quiet joys. We celebrated victories at work, took long walks through the city, and shared countless small moments that reinforced our bond. Hae-In never rushed me. He allowed me to heal fully, to regain my strength, and to embrace love at my own pace. One evening, as the sun set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, he took my hand in his and said, "This is just the beginning, Jisoo. A new chapter, written together." I looked at him, my heart full, and nodded.
Yes.
Together. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt completely free. I had reclaimed my life, my dignity, and my heart. And with Hae-In by my side, patient, devoted, and unwavering, I knew that the future was bright, filled with trust, love, and endless possibilities. Betrayal had once shattered me, but it had also revealed who truly mattered. And as we walked forward, hand in hand, I understood the most important truth of all: love could be gentle, patient, and real. And this time, it was mine to cherish fully.